It's Monday, December 23rd, 2013, and let's talk about what happened this weekend over at xdadevelopers.com. First up is a bit of an update to a story we talked about on Friday. A factory restore image for the Google Glass XE12 update has been made available now, as well as a pre-rooted bootloader. This is standard fare and to be expected, but I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware, so if you are a Google Glass owner, or if you just want to mess around with it, doing any sort of development on it, you can go ahead and take a look at all of the available information for it. Moving right along, it seems that the majority of stories I've talked about lately have been about official updates coming to devices. Well, this week, the majority of the stories to talk about are about things being ported from one device to another, or new mods, or things like that, so I'm extremely excited about this weekend's stories. First up, it appears that XDA-recognized developer Doomlord has gone ahead and ported the Android 4.4.2 that's now available for the Sony Z Ultra Google Play Edition over to the Sony Xperia Z1. There are definitely still a couple of things on the Z1 that aren't working quite right, like the camera and Wi-Fi functionality, but porting from one device to another that is not exactly the same kind of device, and where there are no kernel sources available yet, definitely making some excellent progress, and hopefully we will continue to see updates and progress being made for this device. So if you own the Z1 and you're interested in seeing a more pure AOSP Android experience on it, definitely take a look at Doomlord's thread. And honestly, the next story is not one that I ever imagined I would be talking about. Back when the Nexus 7 was originally unveiled, Google also unveiled another product that never really went anywhere, the Nexus Q. It never really got any updates, no one really understood what it was designed for, and Google kind of abandoned it and tried to pretend that it never existed. However, XDA forum member Hharta, or Hart, has put together a somewhat functional build of KitKat, Android 4.4, for the Nexus Q. It is based on CyanogenMod, and there are some things about it that don't work 100%, like wireless LAN usage, and the audio sometimes doesn't work quite right with Google Play Music, but apparently the grand majority of features on it do tend to work, and it's just a matter of time before the rest do get updated and hopefully do work appropriately. I will say, of all the Nexus devices, the Nexus Q is the one that's always confused me, and I'm sure most of you the most, and it's the one that I've really wanted to get my hands on just for the sake of knowing more about it. Anyway, moving right along, another very interesting device that's been unveiled and released this year is the LG G Flex. And on the G Flex, there is a feature that we've seen in a lot of newer devices, and that's split view. They call it multi-window on some devices, they call it, I don't know. There's a name for it on every single different provider. But the G Flex has split view, multi-view, where you can effectively have two different windows, two different applications running on the screen at the same time and sharing the different parts of the view pane. Well, thanks to XDA-recognized developer BigFow, that functionality has been ported over to this device. This is the LG G2. And from what I've read, it's been tested and works on a bunch of different variants of the G2, such as the D800, the D802, the VS980, the LS980, the long string of text Videotron, and the D802 mentioned again. We're going to go ahead and move on from that. So definitely does work on a large number of the G2s that are available. Honestly, this is a small enough screen that I don't know if I would really want to have multi-view window on it. And there are supposedly some issues with it, things like Hangouts and trying to insert images into Hangouts, as well as some bugginess with regard to Tap-a-Talk, but those are both things that I don't really do, so maybe I'll try it out if this is something you guys are interested in hearing a little bit more about. Like I said, I do have a G2 on hand that I can test with. And the last story I thought I would mention is that there was another Xposed module that got mentioned on the portal this weekend that sounded quite interesting to me. XDA forum member DevAdvance has created this Xposed module, which I think he's calling Root Cloak, and effectively it does what it says on the tin. It cloaks your root access from different applications. Out of the box, it cloaks them from just a small set of default applications. Actually, I don't think it cloaks them from anything. You have to enable it and set it back to the defaults. But you can go in and say, for example, this application can't see that the device is rooted. So in the past, I've dealt with certain video streaming applications, like I think Netflix used to have the problem, and I know the Redbox online instant access video streaming app had the problem with it, and there have been quite a few other ones, banking applications, security-based things, that they just don't want you to have a rooted device. Well, in this instance, you're able to have that rooted device and not have the application find out that it is rooted. But it can also be helpful in keeping yourself secure from new applications that you don't want to give root access to. Now, you could just not grant root access, but in case there's some sort of a vulnerability that you... Yeah, It's just a good way to be able to say, this application doesn't need to know that the device is actually rooted, so it doesn't attempt to take root access of the device. It doesn't even get to see the SU binary on the system. But if this sounds interesting to you, you can always go get it as a part of the Xposed framework. You can download it using its downloader. You can head on over to the forum thread for all the details and to see how people are using it and see what apps it's been tested with, maybe test some of your own. And the last thing I thought I would mention, one other video was posted to XDA Developer TV this weekend, actually about 45 minutes after my Friday video went up, and that was a video about Zooper, which is all about customizing Android widgets and giving you ultimate flexibility in terms of that, done by mycolorscreen.com. And from watching the video, it appears that you can make some very interesting widgets using this in a relatively easy manner, so do feel free to check out that video if you're interested in doing that. And of course, as usual, you can find links to all the stories that I talked about down in the video description. You can also find links to my YouTube channels down there as well, but that is going to be about all from me for today. As always, remember, if you like this video, you can hit that like button down below the video and give us a thumbs up. We definitely appreciate it. Subscribe to receive our content as soon as it becomes available. Thank you so much for watching though, and I will see you again on Wednesday.